Recently, Xiaomi announced even more mid-range smartphones to add into the Redmi Note 11 series. I think there's a total of 6 different variants available for sale right now here in Malaysia only. Remember, that is only for the Redmi Note 11 series, and the one that we are looking at today here is the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G, and I still think that it has a ridiculously long name. Yet, it is also the highest end smartphone in the Redmi Note 11 series, at least for now. And I gotta be honest with you, this phone is actually quite good, but there are a few things that you need to know before purchasing. So, let's begin. Let's start off with the performance, and oh man, I think that the MediaTek Dimensity 920 chipset in this phone did wonders. It goes to show that MediaTek is really improving their chipset over the years. This chipset manages to run games at such a good frame rate in Genshin Impact that I'm actually just surprised at how smooth it is. Sure, it's not the best gaming experience, but hey, coming from a mid-range smartphone, it's good. Better yet, this phone doesn't even get hot at all. At the front and the back of the phone, the temperature is just barely warmed up. This goes to show that we should never judge a chipset by its brand or manufacturer, and we need to really test it out to see its performance. The most perplexing thing though is that this chipset can push out good frame rates, and the phone doesn't even feel hot at all, but somehow the battery drain when we are doing the gaming test is kind of high, so I have no idea where all that energy went. And then the screen, it's a fairly standard 6.67-inch AMOLED screen with a resolution of 2400 by 1080 and with a maximum refresh rate of 120Hz. I mean, this screen is used in many other Xiaomi or Redmi smartphones anyway, so there's nothing really special. However, since we got our colorimeter out at that time, we decided to test out the color accuracy of this phone as well. From what we can see, the maximum average brightness of this phone can go up to slightly more than 450 nits, which means it's somewhat okay to be used outdoors most of the time. And then we lowered the brightness back down to 100 nits and then did the color accuracy test with that brightness. It's actually quite good as this screen covers 98.5% of sRGB and 94.23% of DCI-P3. The average delta E number is still below 0.2, which I think is quite good. And I also like the design of this phone too. It's using a squarish design with rounded corners, and it is also more or less the same as the other Redmi Note 11 series of smartphones, but the one that we have here comes in a dark green color. Covered in this fine matte finish, I think it's just looking really good, yet it's very nice to touch. One more thing that I like about this phone is the flattened camera bump. Seriously, a flat camera bump looks better than the ridiculous stacked camera bumps like the Redmi Note 11S for example. And of course, speaking of the cameras, we need to talk about the cameras themselves. And honestly speaking, they are more or less the same as the Redmi Note 11 Pro 5G, and I'll still only consider 2 out of the 4 cameras to be usable to take pictures. And since the camera setup is so similar to the Redmi Note 11 Pro 5G, we'll just speedrun through it. This time I went to Putrajaya in the morning to test 5G connectivity, and the clouds were beautiful at the time, and the main camera on this phone can take some good looking pictures even though the HDR is a little bit hit and miss, yet it looks very flat when HDR is activated. The ultra wide angle camera though makes everything look a little bit more greenish and change the color of the sky as well, which I think it's a bit weird, but that's something that a little software update can fix. And for the battery of this phone, it actually got shrunken down when compared to the non-plus version of this phone here. So this phone here, the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G, has shrunken down to only 4500 mAh. The battery life test still performed kinda okay. We got about 10 hours or something like that. But like what we pointed out in our gaming tests earlier, the MediaTek Dimensity 920's power consumption is quite high. However, the shrunken battery does come with an upgrade in terms of charging speed. The Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G comes with a proprietary 120W charger inside the box, and it is also advertised to be able to charge this phone with 120W too. But this time, the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G packed 2 different technologies to ensure that this phone has the best charging speeds. I first tested it with boost charging speed turned off, and it charged to 100% in about 23 minutes time. And then I turned on the boost charging speed option once again and redid the charging test, and this time it reached to 100% in only 15 minutes, even faster than the Black Shark 4 Pro. Then I dug around and I found out that, hey, the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G uses a dual cell battery just like the Black Shark 4 Pro, and it also uses another technology called multiple tap winding, or MTW for short. It technically opens multiple channels into the battery so it can charge faster too. By combining these two technologies together, the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G can charge faster than even the recently announced flagship Xiaomi 12 Pro, which advertised to have 120 watts charging as well. If you want to learn more about the Xiaomi 12 Pro's charger, then check it out at the top right corner there. Then lastly, the software. I thought since Xiaomi recently announced MIUI 13, all of the phones announced after the announcement of MIUI 13 will also come with MIUI 13. But no, for some reason the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G comes with MIUI 12.5? What? The most confusing part is that all of the other 4 Redmi Note 11 phones that we reviewed previously, that includes the Redmi Note 11, Redmi Note 11S, Redmi Note 11 Pro 5G, and also the Redmi Note 11 Pro 4G that I'm using as my secondary phone, comes with MIUI 13. For some reason, this phone comes with MIUI 12.5. What? But of course, like what we mentioned in our past reviews, MIUI 12.5 and MIUI 13 feels identical, but there are a few visual changes here and there. All of the bugs and annoyances are still the same between the two versions of MIUI. So the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G starts at a whopping 1,499 ringgit. And I believe this is the highest starting price for any Redmi smartphones ever. I also realized that there is a trend right now that all of the Redmi smartphones either retain the same price as last generation but with downgraded specs, or outright bump up the price. The Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G falls in the latter category, and that is because if we think about it, the closest competitor was last year's fantastic Redmi Note 10 Pro or the Xiaomi 11 Lite 5G NE. I mean, there's a few $100 of price difference between these few phones. And oh, I should also mention that the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G uses a hybrid card slot instead of a dedicated triple card slot. I think this information is important to some of you. But at a price of 1,499 ringgit though, I think there's no other new smartphone right now that can offer the same value as the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G. Though you can consider getting the Galaxy A52s through retailers because they're selling it for less than 1,499 ringgit. And you can check out our review of the Galaxy A52s at the top right corner there too. And yeah, that's all we have to share with you today about the Redmi Note 11 Pro Plus 5G. So if you have any questions, do leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll try to answer them whenever we can. Do subscribe as well, because we will have even more content coming soon. Maybe not about this phone, but some other content. We should do a roundup of all the phones released in Q1 of 2022, right? Yeah. So, we'll see you guys in another video. Goodbye.